Hey guys, so let's start without wasting any more time because we have a lot to cover. And in this course, we will be using R and R Studio. I will have a dedicated section on fundamentals of R where we will go through some of the very basic concepts and the libraries and how to use them. In this course, we are going to take a step by step approach. For example, I have separate sections on R and statistical fundamentals. If you are good at either of them, you can skip those sections. Though I will suggest you it doesn't bite. You have already enrolled. It's better if you can just go through them. I'm sure you will learn something new. And even if it is not new, it will be a kind of revision, which is again not hurting you. So, unless until you are very confident with all of these concepts, I will suggest you to go through them. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is to get going with our environment. So in this video, we are going to cover some of the very basic concepts and overview of our language, and then we will install and set up our environment. So we will download R, we will download R Studio. If you have already installed these tools, then maybe you can skip this video. First, understand why R and what is R. So this R programming language, it is based on the S language, which was developed much earlier in 70s. For R, you can say it's a language dedicated towards machine learning and data science, though there are apps and libraries like Shiny, which you can use to create R-based apps, more like website. But those are going to be very limited in the capabilities, and R is not used for website development or any other kind of development. It's largely used in the field of data science and machine learning, and there are pros and cons of it. In terms of cons, let's say if you compare it with Python, if you learn Python, you can apply same knowledge in other fields like website development, whereas in R, if you need to learn website development, you will have to learn some other language. But the good thing about R is that as it is extensively used in machine learning, there are lots of libraries. I mean, you will see throughout the course that for a lot of these things, we don't even need to write our custom functions because we already have some library which is providing us some kind of function where we can just pass that library and then call that function. So instead of writing maybe 10-20 lines of code for one thing, we are just getting that done in maybe 2 or 3 lines. So that is the biggest benefit of R. I'm not saying there are not enough libraries in other languages, especially if you compare it with Python. Python is also having very good libraries for data science, but if you go beyond R and Python, there are certain limitations if you are dealing with other languages. That's why I guess Python is the most popular programming language as far as machine learning is concerned, and one of the biggest reason for that is Python is a general programming language. So you can use Python in all kind of things. So if you are using cloud computing, you can apply Python there. If you are using website development, you can apply it there. So people tend to learn Python because it has got wider applications. Even if you look at certain specific areas of machine learning like deep learning, where now with latest updates you can use R with TensorFlow, but largely people have been using Python in the field of deep learning because TensorFlow and all those kind of libraries like PyTorch, they support Python. So overall share of Python in the field of machine learning is I think over 50%. But the good thing is that R is not lagging behind as far as this difference is concerned. In fact, I think currently R is around 40% usage in the field of machine learning. But if you look at the fact that R is only used in machine learning, you can imagine that it's very popular among data scientists. Maybe Python has got more share because deep learning is also getting counted as machine learning in these kind of surveys or related activities like cloud computing. Whereas for R, we are only talking about hardcore machine learning. So it makes a lot of difference. So In core machine learning, my guess is that they will be almost equal, or Python would be only slightly ahead of R. So by learning R, and the reason I'm mentioning all of this information is that you don't have to get bogged down thinking that R is the second most popular language, because almost 80% of job openings looking for data science will also specify R. In fact, they will say R or Python. So it's like if you are good at either of these two, you are good to go. It's compatible with all major operating systems: Windows, Mac, Linux. You can use it at any system you like. So that's what also makes it easier to adopt. And of course, it's a free open source tool. Before we move ahead, I just want to say it again. R is one of the best choice for learning machine learning. In my experience, if you are coming from any programming background, there are a lot of people who find Python as easier to learn, because most other programming languages, whether it's Java or PHP, they are a bit more complicated to learn. Their syntax is a bit more complicated, whereas Python is very simple. But at the same time, it's a programming language, and you need to have some kind of know-how on how to proceed with the programming language, the structure of programming. Best part about R is that though there is a steep learning curve as far as advanced programming with R is concerned, but as far as getting started with data science and machine learning, I think R has an advantage. It's easier to learn. For Python, you have to first understand the language, the fundamentals of the language. Then you need to learn few libraries like pandas, numpy, and only then you can have some kind of footing in data science using Python. Whereas in R, though there are packages, but they require very minimal effort to learn and implement. Let's say ggplot for visualization, we can just learn what is required for us to learn. Similarly, if there is some other package used for regression, we can simply know how to use that particular function. So it's easier and quicker to start with R. And once you get hang of the process, once you know how to handle a particular business problem, how to proceed with the data science project, then you can of course go ahead and learn the advanced concept. In fact, there are a lot of people who start with R. Once they get hang of data science as the concept, then they use Python to take it further. So that's why you are not doing any mistake by using R. Okay, so now we need to install R and R Studio. So R is the programming language and R Studio is the IDE, which in simple language is a software used for software development. In this case, we are using it to develop our data science projects. So first, let's go ahead and download the R. So here you need to first run download R in the Google. You need to click on the first link. Okay, so I'm using Windows. This has automatically detected my OS, so it has taken me to the right download page. But let's say it's not the right operating system for you and it doesn't take you there automatically. You can simply go to the URL and remove everything till bin. So if you just leave this part in the URL and hit enter in your system, it will take you to the home page where you can download it for Linux, Mac OS, and of course Windows. So you can simply use these links to download the exe file, run that. I have already downloaded R on my system, so I don't need to do it. But it's a simple exe file. You just have to click next, and it will automatically do the installation. If I just go back to the previous page, if I click on this, it will download this exe file. So just launch it and it will give you a pop-up where you have to do, first you have to click on the yes and then next, and it will complete the installation. I will not do it because it's already there on my machine. Again, we need to go back to Google and say download R Studio. Once you do that, it will take us to the download page. If you click here on the free option, remember both of these options are absolutely free, so you don't have to buy anything. Just click on the download, it will scroll down and take you to this section where we have installers for all kind of systems. So for Windows, this is the option. For Mac OS, Ubuntu, Fedora, whatever is your system, use that one. And once you complete the installation of R and R Studio, we don't need to use the interface of R, though you can also use R directly, but that is not very user friendly. So we will use R Studio. In fact, this is a very common industry practice to use R Studio because it provides better way of managing your project. So I will open the R Studio here. So let me clear everything so that we can start from the scratch. All right. So this section here at the right. All right. So we are in the R Studio, and as I have said earlier, we don't need to do anything with the R. Basically, R Studio is going to use R to run everything in this integrated environment. We just need to use this editor to do everything. So basically, in this section, we are going to write our code. This is the editor. So whatever you write here, after you write that, we can hit the run and it will give us the output. And where do we display the output in IDE? Here the lower half is the console. It will display the command and its output, except plots and objects. So let's say if we run 2 plus 5, it will display the output here. And please note that you can also directly run the code in the console. But problem is it's not saved here. So our work won't be saved. So it's better to write your code here, save it as a R script. So it's think of a document. So if you have already worked in programming, you know what I mean. But if you have never worked in the programming, think of like a Word document. You create a Word document, you save it. Similarly, we create R scripts here. So this section here is your R script. And in this section, whatever you write, you can save it. You can come back, open it, and resume your work. This section, the top at the right hand side, is basically is going to display all of your variables. So if we create a variable, and I will show you what are variables, data frames, but for now let's just go with me on this. So if I create this one variable, it is displayed here. If I plot something, it will display the plot here. So we have 4 sections. We can move it like this, up and down. If you click on this, it will completely close the editor and give this entire space to console. If you click on this, it will give you everything for the editor. So based on what you are doing, let's say you are writing, you can simply maximize this section and write, and then you can use this section to run your code. If you look at the top menu, as you have seen, we can use this new file to create all these different kind of files. I mean, largely we will use it to create our script, but we can also create our markdown, shiny web app. These are basically used. I mean, our markdown is used for reporting. You can simply Google it and learn it. Markdown is basically the way you generate your reports. You can use it to create projects, open projects. For editing, you can imagine conventional editing options, code option, different options related to the coding, view, plots, session. And as you can see, it's a pretty comprehensive system. Throughout our course, our maximum work, I think 90 or maybe 98% of our work will be in these 4 sections of R Studio. I will suggest you to further explore the tool on your own. Just go through all these options and see what can be done. For example, this is how you can code to set your working directory. But if I have to do it directly, I can simply go to session and set working directory to source file. So wherever this file was saved on my system, R Studio is going to set the working directory to that particular folder. And this is a very quicker way of doing it. And there are a lot of people who just prefer to use it this way instead of writing this in the R Studio. Go through all of these options, see what kind of options are there and what and how you can use them to increase your productivity. For example, I can simply select this, go to code and do comment. Instead of I typing this hash so many times, it did it so quickly. So you can see our studio provide a lot of capabilities. Depending upon what you are trying to do, you may end up using few set of options versus few other options. But yeah, it's better to explore it and see what is useful for you. And throughout the course, I will continue to use this tool, so you will get more and more familiar with this. And don't worry, I'm not going to spend too much time on R Studio in this video itself because it's a very simple and good tool. So it won't take much to learn and understand this tool itself. But before moving ahead, I wanted to start with the basics of R. But whether you are dealing with R or Python, there are few concepts which are critical to the field of machine learning and these languages. And it's very important to first understand them, because if we don't, then we will have hard time comprehending to the concepts later on. So next lecture is going to be very important. Don't miss that. That's it for now. See you in the next lecture. Thank you. And yes, if you have any question or comment, please reach out to me through community section. Thank you.